Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Rob with BlameRobVideos, coming at you with episode 7 of our gaming podcast. In this episode, we continue our CSGO map discussion. Last week, we talked with Master Magus and Lego about Dust 2. This week, we'll be talking to Vafaskillz and Mafia from Killers, talking about Nuke in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. This start or introduction is a little different than our others. We just kind of started talking, and then we did our introductions later. But in any case, here's Vafa and Mafia. We go talk about their history a little bit and where they came from, how they joined TPG, and then we go right into the Nuke discussion. So I hope you guys enjoy. And actually, Mafia, I don't know too much about you. I've seen you on the server a couple times. I know you're one of the older players or first players to join the server, and then I know that you're part of Killers and stuff like that. But did you get started around the same time as Vafa and everyone else?
Yeah, me, Vafa, yeah, we actually played together.
Oh, okay.
So there's actually a story behind it.
Okay, we can save that for the podcast, I guess, once Vafa's ready.
Sounds good. The reason actually me and Vafa, let me just tell you, since like the reason we got introduced to TPG or TTP at the time was because of me. Actually, I was a noob and Big Dog slayed me. And this is before we had anything. I'm talking about we had nothing, no website. It was just, they just had rented a server from Art of War, and they just wanted to test it out. It was just like Fava was playing every night for a while.
It was me, Hub, O-Dog, you, Big Dog, and a few other old school names.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And of course, Big Dog asked us to be admins immediately, because me and Mafia, we were just casual players and we played on Xbox. So we actually had X's as our clan tag. Both of us had an X on each side of our name. But at the time, my name was Tony Perkis, and we both had X's on our name. So immediately, Big Dog, to try to drive traffic on their new server, came over admin chat and said, would you guys like to play here and be admins? And this is over admin chat.
Yeah.
And then Mafia and I, of course, coming off of Xbox, we were like, whoa, what the hey? Because on Xbox playing Counter-Strike, you can't really, there's no adminning.
Right.
It's just somebody has a lobby. So he and I were flattered and we're like, sure, heck yeah, and that's where we started. Then the rest is history.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I've heard a little bit about how TTP/TPG got started, but I did not know that was your guys' history, so that's pretty cool. Mafia said that you guys got slayed, or he got slayed, starting off.
I got slayed as well.
For not following the call, or just being new, or both?
The
first time I got slayed, Mafia, you want to jump in on this first?
Yeah. Oh, well, it was just, Vafa had played, I think, for about a month or two, or, he played the old, like 1.6, and I was completely new. And this is when I was just starting, like, PC gaming. For the first time I got on CS, and Vafa was like, let's just join a server with a good, ping. So we get on, and they're rushing, and I rush into A. I remember exactly, it was short A. And I go on the platform, and everybody's like, plant the bomb, and I'm like, who is the bomb? Next thing you know, I see a huge lightning hits me, and I'm dead. I'm like, that was fun. And then that's where it all started. And Vafa stood up for me, obviously, and he got slayed. And then, we started talking, and, that's where all it started.
It was actually O-Dog that slayed us, and he had an early history of kind of having a quick trigger finger, and he's no longer with TPG. But he was a good guy. We actually, the first TTP meetup, we met him, and that's when SJT was hot, and he was very active. I actually, in the early days, pissed Big Dog off because I remember it was Italy, and I'd always buy a shotgun, and that's when you could jump and pump, and everything would reg. So I'd be on middle stairs, and I'd be jumping around like a wild animal, just shooting, jump, shoot, jump, shoot, jump, shoot. And I remember Big Dog, and this is back in 2005, was just like, can you stop that bullshit? And that's something I'll never forget.
I never see you use the shotgun anymore. That's pretty. Or I've never seen you use a shotgun, I think.
Are you kidding me? Go look at my shotgun stats on TPG. I love the shotgun.
I don't see it. At least when I started playing, you probably used it a lot back in the day.
It's because I'm the kind of player that'll always adjust the way that I play with the people that I play against. And when I know I'm playing someone like you, you're gonna rush. You need something that can shoot out more than one bullet every second.
Exactly.
But I have to admit, I kind of like the auto shotty on on CSGO, even though it's like a noob gun.
Absolutely, I do too.
I haven't tried. So why don't we talk about that new auto shotty in CS:GO? Because I've only used it a little bit, and I haven't had very much success with it. So what are you guys doing to get kills, or what's your strategy around using it? Do you rush? Is it a defensive weapon? Is it a flexible weapon? How does it work?
The only map that I'll use the auto shotgun on, honestly, is Office. That's the only map I'll use it on. And my strategy with the auto shotgun, it's been very successful, is to just run like a madman, run straight towards people and shoot right at their neck. And the recoil will automatically hit their head. And I've actually been successful. But if they're more than 15, 20 feet away, forget about it.
Mafia, is that what you do too?
For me, it's a little different. I actually use it on Italy too. And that's just because there's a lot of, close corners that you run into, T's or CTs, just other players. And it's a good close range gun. As far as how I shoot it, to me it's kind of like Deagle. You know how you control your recoil by taking your time per shot. So you kind of like, I go left to right, like I move to the left and take a shot, and then let my gun settle and then shoot again, instead of just going pop pop pop.
Are there any other new weapons or even new grenades that you guys like in CSGO, like the decoy grenade, the mollies, we don't have the Zeus taser. What else do we have? That new pistol, the Tech 9, is also a popular gun that I see. Do you guys use any of those?
I actually, the decoy, my problem with the decoy is after you throw it, before it starts popping and going bang, 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 it bounces against the ground for a few seconds, so it's a dead giveaway. So if I hear somebody throw the nade, and then I hear the sound of it going tink, tink, tink on the ground, I already know it's a decoy. That's the problem I have with the decoy.
Right.
As far as new weapons, I absolutely love the sawed-off shotgun. That thing is a beast, especially again on Office. Office is my favorite shotgun map.
Is it similar to the pump shotgun where it basically kills in one shot at close range?
Yes, definitely so.
And I actually haven't used the new sawed-off shotgun. Is it pretty much the same, or does it have less rounds, or how does it work?
It seems like it has more recoil, but that recoil, and when you see that gun fly up after you shoot it, and the sound actually makes you more focused on your shot. So if you aim correctly, it's going to be a one-shot kill. My favorite place to use it is a storage room, and I kind of peek storage room and I strafe left to right. As soon as I see somebody, I just stop and pop, and they're down.
Sounds good. Mafia, how about you? Any other new weapons or items you like?
That firebomb or Molotov or whatever. I honestly think that it was made for a 5-on-5, and it causes a lot of issues with our servers. Because we like to rush, and if you have, for example, CTs on Dust 2, if you tease rush and you have 3 people in there with firebombs, and they throw one at a time, I mean that kills the whole rush. I mean that can completely stop a rush, and no matter what you do through it, if you go through 2, you're dead. So I think I'm glad we have it off one of our servers, because I think it really gives a disadvantage of what we're about, and it just doesn't rhyme with rushing.
Agreed. I agree completely, especially since they can stack. Like if you have 2 firebombs on top of each other, you take double damage from each of the firebombs, and it's worse when it's like 3 or 4. So I completely agree with you on that front.
Yeah, and go ahead, Vav.
Not only that, I was gonna say it's kind of like the acid in Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
If they throw it and you're calling a rush, the people that are on the front end of either being on the acid or fire, they're gonna rush through it. And then you're going to hear the leader say, run through it, run through it, run through it. But then you have these people that had just started to run on it that are going to think twice, and they back off, and it splits up the rush. I've seen that happen numerous times on Nuke.
Exactly. And so that's a really good segue into what we're going to be talking about today, the map Nuke in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. So last week we had Master Magus and Lego on the show to talk about Dust 2 strategy. And this week we have, obviously, Vafaskillz and Mafia to talk about Nuke strategy. For those of you that are just joining or listening, we're sort of doing this a little bit out of order, but that's fine. This is Rob with BlameRobVideos, and we are on episode 7 of our gaming podcast. So why don't we, you know what? Why don't I sort of tell you a little bit about Vafa and Mafia, or maybe I'll have them sort of give their own introduction. So Vafa is, as you might have already learned, one of the first players to join the TTP or TPG servers, along with Mafia. They're both from Clan Killers, and they're some of the greatest players we have on the server. Vafaskillz, a well-known caller and leader on the server, and Mafia, also a very good caller and leader. I honestly, Mafia, I don't see you too much on the server. I think it's because of our time difference. Vafa and Mafia, do you want to give sort of a little bit of background as to your gaming history or TPG history or whatever you want?
Vafa, why don't you start?
Sure. Started, like I said, back in 2005. And before that, I was more of a console gamer. I did play CS in college back in 98, 99. And I remember back then I had one of those Dells that was completely white, and the button was even white. Had no fancy lights on it or anything, but of course I could run Counter-Strike. And my mouse had the little ball on the bottom that you'd have to clean out weekly with alcohol and pull out the dust. So yeah, I'm kind of a dinosaur. But that's where my CS started. But I really was into Halo and played in Halo tournaments in college, and that was my main game. After I got out of college, I stopped playing video games. I would just casually play FIFA and some sports games and Street Fighter. And then all of a sudden, I got a HP laptop that had a 128 RAM video card, and at the time, that was pretty good. So it induced me to go out and get a PC game, and I saw Counter-Strike Source, and I was like, hey, I used to play this, I'll pick it up. And I started playing Counter-Strike Source then again, and that's when Mafia, him and I are very good friends. We both live in Tennessee, and we work together, so I told him to get the game as well, because he had a pretty nice HP that he had just gotten with the video card. So then we started playing, and that's kind of how, our CS history began. And over the last 7 years, I've been developed as a player. I've met a lot of great players, past and present, that continue to make me a better player. And I would say that my gaming style is passive-aggressive. Sometimes I'm passive, and sometimes I'm aggressive. It just kind of depends on my mood, but that helps me out. I know sometimes if I'm not feeling it, I'll kind of be quiet and I'll let my game come to me, and when I am feeling it, I'll play aggressive and I'll capitalize, and I think that's kind of my gaming style.
I think you described it very well when you said you adjust to sort of the situation, and I completely agree with your style, because when I think about how you play, you really do adjust, because most players, and I'm guilty of this a little bit as well, we sort of have maybe one style or maybe only one or two styles that we really like, whether it's rushing, whether it's defending, or whether, I don't know what else.
Right.
Or, if they have a favorite weapon, like a P90 or a Scout. But I agree with you. I think you're a person that likes to adjust. So, Mafia, how about you?
So, Vafa kind of introduced himself and kind of said what, the stuff that he said kind of applies to me. The reason probably me and you don't play is maybe time difference. And, to be honest, I've been slacking a little bit for the past year. I used to have, the highest playtime on P stats, and but that went away, so, but yeah, I used to play a lot, and nowadays, just because of the school, I just graduated with a Bachelor of Biochem.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And that requires a lot of studying. And now I'm taking a test to go. I want to be a dentist in future, so I'm trying to get into dental school and I'm taking a test. So that's where most of my time is spent at, just studying. But I play every now and then, and I'm an OG. I used to be so much better. It's just you become rusty when you don't play as much.
Right, and I can tell that sometimes when I'm watching you, even though your kill to death ratio doesn't show it, I see you in first person and I can see like your twitch shots, and I can see like you're checking your corners, and when something blinks on the radar, like if you see a blue dot, you immediately will react to it. So there are still hints of like, you're obviously a good player, but like you said, you're just kind of rusty, and that's just what happens to all Counter-Strike players if we haven't been, practicing our twitch shots or whatever. All right, why don't we get right into this and start talking about Nuke in CSGO. First of all, let's go over some of the map changes that CSGO has for Nuke. I think the most noticeable change are the giant gas tanks or whatever in Upper A site. I don't think there's any other changes. Did they change the lower?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So what? I actually can't remember it right now. What did they do to that?
Are you talking about the lower bomb site B?
Like if you go outside towards that other building and go out down the stairs,
You
the
can't.
lower, you can't anymore.
Yeah, you
can't.
can't.
Oh, okay. Well then, that fixes that. Okay. Any other map changes?
All right, so they really screwed the map up, to be honest, and I keep on hearing that people are like, oh, I don't want to play Nuke because of all these changes, blah blah blah. I mean, they really screwed it up, especially with the vents. God, there's no way for you to get into vent without like crouching down, and that just kills the vent rush.
I noticed that. Now that you mention it, I remember that. You can't. So before in Source, you could be standing and running through the vents, but now you have to crouch, right?
Exactly, and people that rush from towards the door from outside, kills you because you have to crouch. I mean, that takes time. Plus, you have other people on top in lower A, and it really screws with the rush.
Right.
You probably lose half a second, is what I've calculated.
Yeah, it's not conducive to our style of play on TPG. But maybe it might be good for 5v5. But actually, that might be a good thing to mention right now. So for those of you listening, this podcast and this map strategy for Nuke, it's not intended for the 5v5 competitive league type gameplay. It's really targeted towards the casual but semi-competitive 10v10 public server environment. So for those of you listening, just try to keep that in mind, because we have shot callers on our server and we sort of run things differently. If you want to check it out, I'll have the IP addresses and links and stuff in my video description. So in any case, why don't we get started and talk about calls. What's a good call or several good calls for the pistol round?
For me, the main thing as a caller is I have to see who's on my team. If I see the people with the best jumps know that they know how to flash, I usually like to go ramp, because I feel that a lot of CTs, they try to, they try to buy fancy guns, and sometimes it happens, and they're not as inclined to pre-nade on first round. So I like to go ramp. That's not to say that I wouldn't do an A split or rush straight in. Again, I'm adaptable. It depends on who's on my team. I'm a horrible person to ask this question to.
No, this is actually, I am coming from, I guess, the opposite end of the spectrum. I would say, because you're adaptable, you're one of the best people to ask, because this is sort of what I want. I want you to explain, what are the things you're looking for to help you determine what the call is. So you mentioned, like, if you have good people on your team that know how to flash in the front. Yeah.
If I'm in front, I'm going ramp, because I'm confident if I have the best jump on ramp, I will beat the person there with the flash, the same way I'm as confident on Dust 2 that I'll fast cat and get the flash there even if they boost. So that's kind of how I feel if I'm in front. However, if I know somebody's in front that's a good shot, for example, Lee or Pimp Trisket or somebody that I know can cover that window, or yourself, anybody I'm confident in, I will try to get bomb down vent, or I'll call everybody rush upper and get the bomb and last three to go lower. On first calls, no one's going to expect that.
That sounds good. Any type of situation where you would call an outside rush on the pistol round? Maybe, I guess, I guess if those other two options, I guess
absolutely.
If those,
If you look at your radar and you see the front group is split up with the back group, then it's easy to say, okay, the front group rush outside to straight in, get smokes and flashes, keep your Glocks. On the wrap, somebody with a mic, let us know when you're going in. Everyone else set up in lobby at the same time as they're hitting mini hut. We're hitting straight hut, and we're going to overwhelm and take the site. That's something I would call.
Mafia, how about you? What do you like on the pistol round?
On a pistol round, honestly, best thing is to keep your. I like to keep my original pistol, that whether you're a CT or a T, and then buy a few flashes. I mean, you can't buy a few flashes anymore, and that's one thing that they changed that I don't like. But let me go back. Let me not jump around. But so yeah, I'd rather have nades than deagle on the first round, because you catch people by surprises. They're not expecting 3 or 4 flashes from T's, or vice versa from CTs coming, for example, from controller room if 2 people decide to rush it.
Right. Okay, let's say, for instance, you lose the pistol round. What's a good call for a second round save, or just a save round in general?
On second round, I would call a straight in call, because you're trying to get the bomb planted on a save round. So the best thing that you can do is instead of doing a slow play and giving them the advantage to pick you off, you're trying to overwhelm the site, get the bomb down, spread out, and take your chances from there. That's the best way to make money and set up for your third round.
Mafia, anything to add?
That's basically what I would do. And on that note, when you think of CS, it's a lot like football. You have the offensive team and defensive team, and basically on a T, on that would be like a full, what they call a Hail Mary, and you just want to get into the end zone, plant the bomb, or get a touchdown.
Right. Okay. How about, once you've gotten money, what are some good general gun round calls?
I'm a fan of drawing out nades and flashes before actually rushing. So on a third round call, I like to move the team as a group somewhere to a choke point together to kind of throw the CT team off balance. So for example, I would call the whole team to rush outside, throw flashes and smokes to draw out their nades and flashes, and then I would reroute them to either ramp or delay straight in, or let their nades and flashes go off and go outside to ramp. It just really depends what I'm feeling, but I would definitely not call a slow play, and I would call the team to do some kind of group fake.
Sounds good. Mafia, what do you like on a gun round?
On a gun round, it depends on what part of a game you are. Sometimes you need to slow down. Sometimes slow play is a good call, and then sometimes you have to rush, and then fakes and all of the stuff. But when you have guns, the slow play sometimes works the best on Nuke, just because you have better guns, and you can stay. And one thing that I forgot to mention is that now on Nuke you can actually break the door. So if you shoot at it, you can break it.
Wait, which door?
The squeaky door.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, you can shoot and break it. So that way you have a view into the bomb site A,
Rob, you want to know what one of my favorite calls is? Actually, Mafia brought up a good point.
Yeah, I'd love to.
One of my favorite calls is actually opening up squeaky door and throwing a smoke immediately in front of that vent, and sneaking through the vent if you know your bearings and getting lower and planted. I can't tell you how many times that's been successful for me. I probably shouldn't have mentioned it.
It's okay. Even if you mention these really good calls,
can you edit that out?
I can. Yeah, I can
I'm
edit.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I think it's a really good call, and I think Lego has also called that as well, or at least tried to get something like that going. And I think Master Magus might have tried it too, but I think the original came from you. So I like that call as well. Mafia, you mentioned sometimes slow plays are good on Nuke. When you're slow playing as a terrorist on the terrorist side, what are some of the key positions that you want to play? What are like the key locations you want to hold and you want to be trying to pick from?
So Twinkie is always good because you know you have the upper hand looking into outside, and then you know you want someone. I like myself. I'd like to be on top where those sandbags are on top of A, where you can look into controller room. And then, but the trick there is, you know, you need to be careful because sometimes, you know, they come under you. So you have to listen, anticipate, and, you know, I always keep a look on where a squeaky door is, you know, you can still see a little bit. So, you know, if you see someone rush, you gotta be really fast. And those are good places, you know. And then you want people to be all over the place, you know. Someone watch window. If you smoke the HUD, you know, you can still cover window without someone shooting you. But then it, you know, it takes the whole team. So there's different spots.
Where are you trying to get your picks on a slow play?
On a slow play?
Yeah.
My favorites are window because you can actually stand into those two steps and still look through the window without actually exposing yourself in HUD. And then, you know, that's a good spot I like to be. Then on top, that sandbag is another favorite of mine. I always try to boost someone into Twinkie. I never go up there myself. It just takes
Twinkie's
time.
my favorite.
It just takes time. I mean, I like to be, you know, ready when they rush.
Sorry, Vafa, did you say Twinkie is your favorite?
Twinkie's my favorite because usually when I'm picking Twinkie, I'm calling for two people to help me outside, so we're kind of spreading out outside. So if there's a sniper outside in garage, they don't know who to focus on. And more often than not, if they're getting aggressive, I can see their feet from Twinkie, and then I can hurt them and push them back. Another reason why I like Twinkie is that I'm always aware that the CTs like to come from the top railing and peek that corner. They're trying to be sneaky. Yeah, it shows you how much I play Nuke. And I actually can see them peek around that corner. I'm always waiting for something to turn around so I can pop it. And the last reason that I love outside is because you can jump from Twinkie onto Mini Hut without the people either watching window or watching balcony from Heaven's side or sitting in Mini Hut camping. They actually don't know that you're on top of there unless they're listening. And I'll always throw a smoke when I jump on there at connector, and I'll sometimes go into the smoke so they don't see me drop, and I'll either go behind the box, so if they're watching from windows or upper heaven they can't see me behind that box, and I'll either rush heaven and flank ramp, or I'll turn around and hit hut, and I'll call for the rest of the team to either squeeze ramp or squeeze straight in. I love to be the point man on that call.
That sounds good. Let's say you do get your slow play going and you're getting ready to take a site. Let's start with upper A. So let's say for whatever reason you guys are rushing straight in or rushing from outside to upper A. When you are rushing the site as a terrorist, where are some of the key locations that you can expect a CT to play and that you should probably be trying to either pre-fire or check first as you enter the site?
Well, I think on a straight-in rush, the way that I like to do it on a standard A upper rush is the first person's going to get window. The next two are going to go squeaky door so they can neutralize the people that are in mini hut. And then the people that are in heaven or up in that corner on A side, they're going to be focused on the ones coming through squeaky. Then, when you have their focus on squeaky and you have somebody covering window, you start funneling T's through hut. And then that way you have the CTs out of position. And I find that that's the easiest way to do a standard A rush upper.
When you rush inside, where do you usually see CTs on the rafters? Like, are there specific corners that you found or that CTs camp more in, or is it they could just be anywhere, really?
It can be anywhere. If you have somebody rushing you like Mad Mardigan or Scotty, they like to jump straight off heaven and come right at you at hut. So you got to be aware of that. Again, that goes to knowing who you're playing against. If you're playing somebody a little bit more passive that likes to play upper, like a Vic or an Icon, you need to watch your top corners because they like to immediately get behind you and hide on those top corners and pick you off as you come through hut. So again, it just depends on who you're playing, and you got to know where to look.
I think the most common for me that I've seen like CT's camp is probably the right vent by window. I mean, that's a very common place, and you know, just heaven, deep in heaven. because then they can cover outside and inside.
Let's say you're heading towards B. So let's say you go ramp. Let's start off with ramp. Where is a CT usually going to hide in ramp, or where can you expect a CT to hide in ramp side?
When I'm rushing ramp, I'm always checking immediately to the right, because naturally the person that has the best jump is going to try to pre-nade in there and come straight in and get as many kills as they can. So if you get the flash in there with the person with the best jump, they're going to go to the left wall, they're going to hug it because they're going to be flashed. So I'll always check right. If I check there and no one's there, I'll immediately look left and expect somebody either behind the big box or behind headshot box. And then the last place I'll check is in the corner of Twinkie and all the way down. But usually you're twitch aiming everywhere, so you're looking everywhere, you know, at a moment's notice.
Mafia, how about you? Where do you check on ramp side? Pretty much the same?
Pretty much the same, but used to be where headshot used to be very popular back in the days. Nowadays, actually behind the two big boxes, it's more popular because once you run out of your ammo, you can jump into the ramp and reload and be ready to get them as they jump into the ramp.
Good point.
And you know, that corner, you always have someone in that corner. It's just been like that forever.
Now let's say you guys actually make it down to lower B. When you're approaching lower B, where are some of the key locations you should be looking at first? What are some of the key rooms that you want to clear first? Maybe before you plant the bomb or as you're planting the bomb?
Well, my strategy, and I'll go ahead and throw this out there, on the new version of Nuke, there's no toxic. But TPG, thanks to Mad Max, is going to transition into a more normal version of Nuke. So I'm going to treat Nuke as if the lower part is like CSS.
Sure.
You have two doors, and then you have the vents that you have to watch when you get lower, not including the window room to your left as you come out of ramp. What I like to do is I'll always say, if we're rushing ramp, I'll save my smoke, and I'll throw my smoke down to the middle of sight to ensure that our bomber can get the bomb down without getting caught in a crossfire. And then after I throw that smoke down and I ensure that the bomb is going to get down, I'll either go left or right door, and I'll call for my teammates to watch the opposite door, and we'll clear out the two doors first. And then, of course, hopefully we should have players that have already shot out vents and are watching vents, and then we'll get bombed down and we spread out.
Mafia, how about you? What do you like to do in lower B?
Lower B, most important thing to me is once you're going down into the ramp and try, usually this is me planting the bomb, so I'm the first one. I'm running down the ramp. First thing I do is shoot the vents because CTs like to hide in there. And then once you break the vents, you know, you expose them to other Ts. And you know what it gets down to? Like again, I like to use football examples. It's a lot like being a quarterback, and you know, you're trying to throw the ball. You need that pass protection, you know. And what's very important and wins a game, even if you're down mans and CT have the upper hand with, you know, more players, it is very important for someone to say, "I got your back," you know, and watch the vent or whatever, and let you plant, and then you guys can sit. Like there's been so many times where, you know, a bomber tries to plant the bomb, and here comes the CT, shoots them, and then now you have to fight and get the bomb back in the middle of nowhere.
Sounds good. We spent a lot of time talking about the terrorist side of things. Why don't we talk about CT side for just a little bit? As a CT, what are some good key positions to play, especially if you have the jump? Where do you want to be as soon as you're out of the buy zone?
I'm gonna start.
You want me to start, Moff?
Sure, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and start.
Alright, I'm gonna take point on this one. So basically, usually the first two, you know, if they're good rushers, you know, if they go outside and get an upper hand on outside or the squeeze kid door, that's the best. But usually you want, you know, the upfront guys to go heaven, jump in, at least have two in the side, and then you want two in the upper A, and one of them, you know, staying back so they can, you know, help outside from, you know, heaven. And, you know, 2 to 3 in ramp, you know, 1 or 2, you know, rushing the squeaky. But it really depends on, you know, how Ts are playing, you know. So if they're like to rush ramp a lot, you know, you try to put 3. It really depends on how they play.
What are some of the things you're sort of looking for as a CT from the terrorists to sort of help you identify what the call is?
It used to be very simple. It used to be very simple where, you know, as soon as you heard the nade, bam, there they were coming, and, you know, you could yell on your mic, get to, you know, whatever ramp, and, you know, people would get there. But now it's, you know, getting a lot harder. People, you know, people are playing smarter. You know, they throw fakes, you know, they fake and all those stuff. So you really kind of have to be patient and learn the game and listening. You know, if you hear 10, you know, footsteps, most likely they're gonna rush that way. But again, you know, sometimes outside, like Vafa said, he likes to, you know, take the whole team outside, throw flashes and nades, and come back and rush ramp. I mean, you just have to play smart. And believe it or not, I think as CTs, you have to use your mic, just like Ts, and even more sometimes, because you really want to communicate and get help. It's a lot like, you know, a defensive team on football.
Vafa, how about you? What are some pointers that you can give for playing as a CT?
Well, if I'm CT and I have the best jump, my favorite spot to go is hut. With the new Counter-Strike, if I'm on the server that has mollies, I'll immediately always get a molly and hut to slow down the rush. I know it's cheap, and that's why I don't like it, but that's what I do because I'll always play to win, no matter what server I'm on. If I'm on the server without mollies, I'll get down there and I'll usually peek to see if somebody's checking window, and if they are, I'll take care of that. If not, I'll throw a bank flash and I'll peek into mini hut to see, or sorry, into hut to make sure I can see people running in ramp. If they're running in ramp, then I'll usually try to flank. And when I flank and I go in, I'll always check sandbags because I've been domed one too many times by a stray person. So I've learned my lesson to always check the camping spots. Again, if I'm playing a team, for example, if I'm playing against Ira or you or somebody else, I'll usually call for a nade stack on outside. So if you guys are trying to split A, it'll kill that rush. And I'll call for a few people on ramp and a few people to watch hut. But that's another thing I love to do as a CT is to nade stack outside. If you take that outside rush away from the Ts, you better believe you got control of the rest of the map. And I think that's something that's really important to me as a CT.
I completely agree with you because if you do because CTs have the jump on outside, and if you do get that pre-flash or pre-nade off on outside near those boxes, you do stall the Ts. And the Ts can try to counter flash and, you know, do whatever, but essentially, in my opinion, I agree with you. I think the CTs have the advantage there, and if you take it away from them, you're right. What can they do? They sit in lobby, and they can either go ramp or they can go straight in, or now they're forced to slow play. They have to figure out another strategy. So I completely agree with you there. I guess the only other thing they could do is maybe delay outside a little bit, but once you delay, you're giving up your position, and then CTs gain position on you. So you're absolutely right. CTs get control of outside, so that's the way that map works, or that part of the map works. Those are all the questions I had for Nuke on CSGO. Did you guys have any last maybe strategies or pointers that you want to give to our listeners, whether it be if you're playing on terror side, CT side, whether you're calling, defending, anything, any tricks, anything?
One thing that works really well, and I think this goes back to TTP's roots, is having somebody drawing out and really being the person that takes the nades. And I'm going to call out Smoke and Sheriff on this. Here's an example. If it's Aztec, he always would make the call if he had the jump. He's going to rush outside and draw the nade stack out on double doors. Then he would either call a delay double doors or a delay bridge, and every single time he would die for the call. I've actually looked at Smokin for his leadership and learned a lot from him, and I've applied that to Nuke, to where if I have the best jump or if somebody has the best jump on ramp, they'll actually rush ramp. They'll draw out their nades, they'll draw out the mollies, you know, the whatever, the people that want to rush and get killed. And then you kind of do a delay rush from there or a delay straight in rush from there. And I think that's really helped me as a caller, because when you have players that are willing to die for the team when they're in front, that is what's going to make you successful. When you have people that are more concerned about sitting back and not dying or might not even know how to rush, that's going to be the biggest bottleneck to you as a terrorist team. And you'll notice that I talk a lot more about being a terrorist and a counter-terrorist is because I absolutely enjoy being on the objective side on any map.
Okay, Mafia, any last-minute pointers or tips that you want to give?
Honestly, biggest tips I have is just communication. I mean, that what makes a team or breaks a team. And it's a big thing. And the reason most teams are successful is because they work as a team, and that's what we stand for. And if you do that on CT or T, it works 90% of the time. So it's all about communication when it comes down to it. Everything else I think has been covered. Nuke is gonna be the new map is gonna be a lot like CS. So we're gonna pretty much have the same calls, and so everything has been covered.
Yeah, I agree. I think we did. You guys did a really good job covering both the terrorist side and the CT side and calls.
One thing, Rob, that I actually wanted to mention is that it almost seems like the nades, they gravitate or they're slower, more like 1.6. I think the nades in Source were a lot faster. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I never noticed it before, but I'm going to keep an eye out. Now that you mention it, if I had to guess, I think they are a little bit slower because you're right. The nades in 1.6, those big buckets, they like float. And then
yeah, exactly. Like bank a flash off a wall when rushing into B on Dust 2. The flash will definitely do a few flips and gravitate.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's hard to explain, but it's different.
I'll check it out next time I throw a nade. I'll keep an eye out for those things.
And again, one thing I'd like to see change is, they allow us to pick 2 flashes if we chose to. I mean, it's not really gonna have any advantages. I mean, I really hate. I mean, I rather have a fake, a flash instead of a fake. It does the same thing.
Yeah, instead of decoy. What's funny, and I know we're talking about Nuke, but I was just playing Aztec the other day, and I want to mention this. So, I was calling on Nuke, or not Nuke, on Aztec, and what I found that the decoys are good for, and this is from what Lego was telling me, is that when you throw the decoy, as bad as they are, it actually shows up as a red dot on the radar to the counter-terrorists. And yes, it makes it only has a one bullet pattern of sound, but it still makes sound, and when you throw a bunch of them and you combine it with smokes and maybe 1 or 2 sellers, it does a pretty good job of selling a rush, and so you can send your team the other way. I had a little bit of success with it on Aztec. I thought I'd mention it here. So anyway, I think that's it for Nuke. If any of the listeners have questions about these strats, you can send me an email at blamerob@gmail.com or leave me a message on my YouTube channel. The last part of our show, we always close the gaming podcast with a little bit of news or announcements, and the only ones I have are that I just got back from Penny Arcade Expo. I was able to shoutcast the Counter-Strike tournament they had in the PC gaming area, so that was really awesome. You can find the videos on my channel as well as Twitch TV. I'll put the links up in this video as well. We also got to see the League of Legends North American Regionals. That was really fun. And that's pretty much it. Those are the main highlights from PAX Prime. Vafa and Mafia are leaders of the Killers Clan and 2 of the best players from Team Player Gaming. I'd like to thank both of you for being on the show tonight. Thank you very much.
We truly appreciate it, Rob.
If you would like to try out the teamwork on Team Player Gaming by following the calls or making them yourself, or maybe even playing as a on the CT side and trying to defend against these calls, then check out the video in the description for links to the website as well as IP addresses for their gaming servers. Again, Mafia and Vafa, thank you so much. I actually learned a lot listening to you guys, and I don't want to sound like an egotistical maniac, but I feel comfortable calling, and I feel like I have a good handle on how calls generally should go. But listening to you two here, I can say I've learned more than I expected to from this podcast. So I'm glad we covered good content today. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching, everyone, or listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
And at the time, my name was Tony Perkis. And is this being recorded?
It is, but I can edit it out.
You can edit out that I just said edit it out. It'll be funny.
All right.
So Vafa sort of explained how I came. Look, let me take that back. Tongue is not rolling right.
It's okay.
No, so Vafa kind of introduced how I became. God, what's wrong with me?
It's okay.
You
I can edit all of this out.
gotta edit
all this
yeah.
stuff. I can edit it out. It's all right.
All right, edit it out.
Or maybe I'll
good.
keep it in.
No. You don't
Have
want
it for the credits.
Yeah,
No.
that's what I usually do. I usually keep the funny, like all this crap right here, that's going in the credits.
So
Anyway.
all right, let's just start.